Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Stopping the Violence. My name is Dr. Madeline, Clark Alexander, and I am the co-host of Stopping the Violence. So I welcome you. Fearless leader, Reverend Zachary Oliver, is out of the country, so I'm just kind of taking this place for today. So we welcome you. As you know, Stopping the Violence is a reoccurrence webinar. We meet every Wednesday, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're answering a clarion call from our founder, Dr. Hakcha Khan Moon. So again, I welcome you. Today, we're going to play a video, and I pray that this video will heighten your awareness in some areas, and I pray that it's as thought-provoking for you as it was for me when I heard it live. So put your seatbelts on. At the end, we'll do a little discussion as we find out, what this is, what stopping the violence is really all about, some of the root causes of violence, and to be able to interpret this in a way that we can share it with someone else. Again, I thank you for joining us. Okay, we have no sound.
Sorry, there's no sound automatically?
No, there's no sound.
Okay, hold on. Let me do it again. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
Probably forgot to share this.
Stopping the Violence
What about now?
webinar that
Good.
we've been doing for the last
Thank
2
you.
years. We have incredible people on, incredible thinkers, incredible workers out there in the field, that including law enforcement, community activists. Even we had 2 or 3 mayors to come on, religious leaders, everyone, that every component within our community construct that needs to come together to help deal with this issue of stopping the violence in America. But it originally started with gun violence. What guns in itself, we realize that, yes, guns are an important topic to talk about, but when we deal with guns, and I've always say this, that a gun is an inanimate object. People pick up that object and they use it to hurt or murder someone else. What is the root causes of that? So as we have gone on and listened to several of our speakers, we're amazed at the ingenious information that they bring to the table is so pertinent to the construct of real, true change. And today we have another special guest who has been on before, and she's been on like a ghost prior to that. But I want to introduce her. First, I'd like to say my name is Reverend Zachary James Oliver, and I am the Vice President of UPF, which sponsors this program. And we're happy to have you every week. And like just to move forward without too much further ado, to bring on Taylor Cummings. She's an incredible person. And the reason why she's here today is because of the fact that she came on once before. And I really thought that she should be on with another of our speakers, Jim Edgerly. And what happened, Jim Edgerly, and then another scholar came on, which was Mr. Husuk. But at that time, we got the time confused, so Taylor couldn't come in to really put her piece into that whole construct in a very innovative and wonderful conversation. And now I asked her to look at what they said and come up with a follow-up and some added points that she would like to address to the topics that they were discussing. at that particular point. So without any further ado, Taylor, welcome, and let you know that I'm not here. I'm here in almost forgot I'm in Africa, and I almost forgot it's 2 o'clock your time, and it's 8 o'clock here. But God bless you. So
Oh,
glad to have you.
yes, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that we were able to catch up and do this. And it is 11 here, 2 there, 8 p.m. where you are. And so even
it's
just
amazing, right?
yeah, it's really a beautiful thing to see us all come together and be able to be on one accord at one time and place. So, hello, everyone. My name is Taylor Cummings. I am currently studying for my PhD at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Unfortunately, we just recently had a very severe tragedy happen on our campus at the hands of gun violence. We had 3 of our faculty members murdered on our campus. And so this is a very special topic to me. Even beyond that moment, I've always been studying the world, the complex systems of the world, the complex problems and issues of the world, and how we all come together despite our differing ontologies and epistemologies, so ways of being and ways of knowing. And what does that look like to create a system of world peace? So I'm studying to do that. I'm studying motivation and belonging. I have a master's of education in curriculum and instruction from North Carolina State University. And then my undergraduate degree was from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, an HBCU, Aggie Pride, and I was studying social development and cultural change. So I'm excited to be here and see how all those things come together to discuss this topic of incubators, social conditions. How do we have these systems and societies that really create and manifest these violent issues that we see? And what does it look like to start to work to solve those problems? So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Happy for you to be here. So you're reminding me of that particular topic, and it was dealing with what are some of the incubators that becomes the festering of the development and the culture of
Yeah.
violence. And so I think that Dr. Husso was talking about how the American system developed projects. So those
Yeah.
projects became isolated entities without the proper education, the proper ABCD. We know how these city projects are, and right there, that becomes what we call a construct for violent and dysfunctional behaviors because ABCD. And then
Yeah.
Jim Edgerly talked about the tribes, the 4 tribes that he and I have been working on for a long time, the 3 tribes, and that we are 3 basic races, 5 colors, but there are 3
Yeah.
basic races: Asian, Black, and European. And
Yes.
how that relationship works. What needs to be done to bring that into a more harmonious construct, if you will. So he just shared what that was, that in some respects that became incubator for ill behaviors. And you weren't there, so we'd like you to what you listened to go ahead and give us a whole synopsis of what you think.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And where you left us off is exactly what you were talking about. So Husak, he was looking at that relationship between race, housing, and violence, and how putting people in these environments on top of each other, getting rid of a lot of the natural resources that are really necessary for our health, our growth, and our well-being, how it really was contributing to a lot of the issues that we see even currently now in our neighborhoods. And so understanding this thing called affordable housing, what that really means, who's affected, what the negative impacts are of that, and then what potential solutions could be moving forward. And then Edgerly, as you mentioned, was talking about this idea of tribalism. There are many colors and variations of the human phenotype. And so understanding the root of that and where that all came from is essential to understanding how to live harmoniously among one another. And I really loved each of their presentations. I thought it was very impactful, very powerful, especially coming from white men. You don't often hear a lot of this narrative coming from that field of thought ordinarily or historically. And so I thought it was wonderful to hear, the expansion of thought and mind and being able to see it on that platform was really cool. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about this idea of reconvergence, the origins of humanity, and what this looks like, and getting into those social conditions that Mr. Husak was talking about. And so what I feel really contributes to this incubator, this hotbed, or the social conditions, it has a lot to do with our government. Our government is that system that does regulate our societal affairs. It's supposed to maintain safety, order, justice, peace, and stability for the collective well-being of all. And that does influence our environment. And our environment expands beyond, just our home or our school or our work. It really is our natural world around us and beyond that which we cannot see. And so understanding that our environment is supposed to sustain life. And a lot of our practices and policies may not be leading us towards sustainability. And so really centering that in our understanding of what social systems are and what the best social systems are to do the things that we'd like to do. And that leads us right into our behavior, right? Our actions, how we react, our expressions, how do we express the human condition? And right now we're seeing a lot of not so positive reflections of the human condition in our world and our society. And so if we want to reduce crime, if we want to reduce a lot of these issues, how do we address this from the biological, the psychological, the social, and the environmental? And so really looking at the holistic perspective and social systems and complex systems is what I'm studying in my program, and really understanding how do we approach this from a bird's eye view? How can we see all the pieces? How can we have all hands on deck? And how can we approach this thing? Because I might have mentioned this the last time, when we try to plug one hole over here, this hole's going to burst and pop open. And so we really have to be able to not just slap band-aids on problems, which a lot of people might say we may be trying to do currently. And so thinking beyond that. And I think that Husak and Edgerly did a great job of really talking about the social conditions that we're in and sort of how we got here, and then what that looks like moving beyond. And as you mentioned, these three races, but you can see the Central Asian, East Asian is kind of here in the middle. And I'm just using the terms that Mr. Edgerly had in his presentation. And so if we understand the origin of humanity, if we understand like this evolution of races as we've been describing it, and we'll talk about socially constructed identity, right? The way that we've understand how we're connected to one another has tried to be through DNA, has been tried to be through these other biological means, and then we know that race is not necessarily a biological correlation. And so really starting to understand and look at the depth and the nuance that lies in how do we understand how we all got here and the interconnectedness between us all. And I like that this graphic has a line connecting them, because that is really the topic of our conversation is, okay, what is the true thing that unites all of humanity? And I'm starting to think it can't be our nationals, it can't be race, it can't be these things, because even our borders, those are imaginary. Those don't exist. We made those up. And as much pride as we have in where we're from and the land that we occupy, there is something bigger than that. And so really understanding what that thing could be, I think is really where I saw the nature of the conversation going, and even just the landscape of society and the types of conversations that I'm seeing being had across industries is really this larger picture. But two things that I really did want to address about this idea of reconvergence, because I think that Mr. Edgerly did a great job about talking about, okay, we started here in Africa, we started to migrate throughout the land, but when he talks about the African presence returning to America, and I say returning to because it does not start at the slave ship. And when I saw that, I said, oh, okay, well, I do kind of diverge there. And I want to be very clear about and I want to just offer this reference here. This is by Ivan Van Sertima, a book called They Came Before Columbus. And so really understanding that what we understand as African presence in America did not start 400 years ago, did not start on the slave ship. It was long before then. And really, this book really does problematize how we understand the term Native American and what it means to be native to this land. And so I did want to offer that level of insight. And that is something that really stood out to me when we talk about that.
we
I
have
think
it
that this idea of reconvergence is very important, because what we have historically identified
he did,
the nation that
he
we
didn't
call the
see it,
United
but I
States
was
of
able to go
America,
back and
we've
find
called
it
it
and
the
send it
melting
to you.
pot. We've
So,
called it this place where we now
okay.
have a mixture of many different populations, many different demographics, and we're all trying to come together. We're all trying to live positive, healthy lives, but
Okay.
we're seeing that we're having a lot of issues. And so what can we do to sort of combat that? And it led me to thinking more deeply just about the nature of what it is that we're even doing here. And a woman actually came up to me on campus and gave me this book the other week. And I didn't know much about Dr. Moon. I just was like, the woman was very kind, very sweet, and she just said, I'm looking for someone. I'm looking for someone. She said, I have this book, it's about peace. And she gave it to me, and I said, wow, like I study this. And she's like, oh, you might be who I've been looking for. And so we're talking, we're chatting, very pleasant conversation. I go home. I look up Dr. Moon and I'm like, Dr. Moon is the founder of the organization that I just spoke with at this webinar. And I'm like, wow, very serendipitous. And so as I'm flipping open these pages, I'm really understanding and looking at this idea of the true parent. And it resonates with me because in my research, I am looking beyond our physical reality. I am looking beyond our social systems, right, in the material, because I do feel that there is something else there. And I think there is this relationship between science and spirituality. And I was really moved by the way that they explain their advocacy and the reasons for it. And so I'd like to just read an excerpt. I just literally flipped it open and I was like, wow, this is what I've been saying. So to solve the many problems facing our world, whether they are religious or scientific, first you must know correctly about God, who is the origin of the universe, and about true parents. Then you will be able to find the solutions. And so this idea about true parents, if we are to be connected as brother and sister, then that means that we must have the same parent. But currently in our world, a lot of us have very different conceptions of what God is. A lot of us have different names, different ideals. Some don't even believe that one exists at all. So what would you be to me if you don't believe that you came from the same thing that I came from? And so really having these sorts of conversations and understanding this, especially from the historical perspective, as I mentioned with the transatlantic slave trade, African people were told to ditch the God that they knew and to start worshiping this other God in a new image. And so understanding what that is and rectifying a lot of that, whether it's misinformation, misguidance, but a lot of the confusion around our spiritual knowledge and understanding, I think is very critical. And I was blown away that this book was presented to me in the way that it was. I was blown away about the connection to this group and organization. And I just feel very hopeful that this is like sort of leading us in the right direction. And another excerpt I'd like to share before I sort of unpack a little bit of the way that I'm thinking about my framework is science is a stepping stone. So once in a while you hear religious people devalue science as having nothing to do with God, and secular people devalue religion as having no practical use. Both sides separate God and science. Both are in error. God wants us to develop science and technology as tools with which we can exercise the dominion of love over all things. And that is God's great blessing. We must love nature with the same heart as God and cultivate it for the benefit of humanity. This is God-centered science and technology. And so this is my first time reading this book, and I was like, this connects very deeply to the way that I'm thinking about the world and the way that I'm thinking about the pillars of my research. And so as I said here, this is a work in progress. I'm in my doctoral program. I'm about to complete my comprehensive exams, which will allow me to start proposing my dissertation and then moving on to defending my dissertation. So after the semester, I will be out in 1 year. And so understanding, the complexity of our own selves, our own world that we occupy and our role in it, I've been thinking very deeply about these 3 pillars and how they are interconnected. And identity, I think, is essential to understanding the nature of violence, the nature of a lot of complex issues, but also the nature of those solutions. I think those who are affected by a lot of the problems, that's where we find our solutions because we're closest to it. And so really having knowledge of self, really having a deep understanding of who you are in your context is very important. And as I say here, identity really refers to our perception of self. And perception, knowing, being, belief, all these things are things that we have to really start to source through and understand what they really are. But who we are, what our characteristics are, what our values are. I think values is really pivotal in understanding the type of social systems that we're creating and how our institutions reflect those values in those systems, and what our knowledge and our experiences are and how we integrate that. And so understanding all aspects of self, how we integrate that so that we can navigate this world the best way for us. And that sort of leads us into belonging. And I don't want to really frame this as a sequential linear process or anything like that. These things can happen simultaneously all in one time in many different directions. But we do flow into belonging, and it's this feeling of feeling accepted. I feel accepted where I go. I feel respected. I feel supported, and I feel included in my environment. And I'm even starting to look beyond that and what it means to belong to oneself, and belong to one's own community, especially as a person from a historically marginalized community. I really started to question, wait, what's this thing called belonging? Belonging is psychological membership. So if I'm supposed to have a sense of psychological membership to an institution that's inherently oppressive, what does that mean to me, right? And so we start to unpack these things like assimilation, and we start to unpack a lot of the things that we've learned through our socialization in a historically racist society. And I had to say, wait, maybe I need to reevaluate this relationship and what it means for me to want to belong somewhere that has historically excluded me. Even if we look at the school system, I'm currently getting a PhD, but just a few years ago, Ruby Bridges was not allowed to go to elementary school. And so what does that mean, and what does that look like, and what is our relationship to these institutions, I think is very important for us to consider when we talk about what it means to belong. And so that's something that I'm unpacking. And then what that looks like in the spiritual realm. And how I'm conceptualizing spirituality really just means that which we cannot see, that which is beyond our material physical reality. There's these things that we have called feelings. Some people talk about the divine. Some people talk about being able to communicate, beyond what we know as our physical. And I'm all with all of it. And so really understanding the quantum mechanics, really understanding, the basis of our reality is important. So really getting into ontology, really getting into epistemology, but this science of being, the science of knowing, and understanding how that can be integrated into our current technology and our current community design. So going back to Husak, how do we create sustainable systems that really support the well-being of life? What literally materials are we building our buildings out of? Is it conducive to the environment? Is it conducive to humanity? And so seeing and thinking about how all these things come together is very important. And I do think it starts with the education piece, re-educating. I think a lot of us may not have gotten the best education in whether it was private, public, charter. We know that there are issues that are embedded in a lot of our systems. And so really connecting ourselves back to who we are and back to the meaning of the purpose of what we're doing here. And maybe understanding what that is, because there is a lot of confusion around whether there is such thing at all. So those are some of my main takeaways, ideas, and how I've been thinking about our previous conversations.
Wow, that was quite brilliant. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank you how coincidentally I got a text, Reverend Oliver, do you know this person? This Japanese lady. But and it's interesting that you would put the true parents up there like that, who are the founders of this very. She's the one who ignited and said we need to address gun violence and violence in America. So it's interesting that you put her picture up and read some of the quotes from her book, which is really a phenomena. Amen. Hallelujah. And also she, the tribe, and I took it, Jim ran with it, but I've already made the construct of it, but I got it from those true parents. They made it very clear that God had, and what I say in that context, the problem is, if we continuously look at it as the three races, we will inevitably continue to fight. But when we look at it from the vantage point that we are from the same creator, and if that creator happens to be called the Father of humanity, that means that we're brothers and sisters, right? So you're more likely to reduce the type of fighting with your brothers or sisters than you would with someone of a different race, because then you can detach yourself from that and formulate all these systems of thought. And I'm going to go, but I have one reason why I understood that. I was in the 60s. I grew up in the 60s, right? And we were in the alleyway one time. I lived in the South Bronx for a few minutes. while my father was doing his master's degree at one of the university. I can't think of which one, because he went to a couple. It's in Long Island. It'll come to me in a minute. But and there were three boys. One was Irish, because at that time Irish was still there. One was a white Hispanic, more white. One was a more lighter skinned black boy, and one was a dark skin like me, right? So they were going down the line, what was better? So of course, the white, the Spanish, the lighter black, and then me, I was the worst of them all. And my father was sitting there and he was listening. I never knew he was listening. I was 5 years old. I never knew that he was listening. He just watched from a distance. And then he said, son, come up here. And he said, you know, in your lifetime, they're going to call you all kind of names, the N name. But he said, let me give you the definition of the N name. You know, parents, family is important, right? And we to break down who success is, or break down the black family. So this is a father telling the son, saying, I'm 5 years old, and I remember this word verbatim almost. And he said, you know, when you grow up, people are going to call you a black N. But I want you to say this, think this. That word N means a dirty person. So you know for sure you're not a dirty person. So it doesn't apply to you, right? It really doesn't apply to your people either. Secondly, black is good. Black, great things come from Africa. But the most poignant thing and most profound thing he said to me, I never forget. He said, the people who are calling you that name have forgotten that God is their father. So that means that those who are calling you those names are looking at you from the race point of view, are your brothers and sisters. He said, but you have to grow up and be a better man. And a better man will know, no matter what they say to you, they're your brother and your sister. So I've always had that in my mind. So this is very important. We fight because we don't see each other as brother and sister. We see each other from a racial point of view. So I want to leave it like that. But I wanted to tell,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, so I want to leave it like that. I want to thank you for your presentation, and you really summed up Mr. Husak and Edgerly, and then put your piece in it. And it's like a phenomenon that you would bring up to the true parents. Most of these people on this call are true parents. So I want to open it up for any other discussion.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
and
please.
I did just want to build. I loved your story, and I think that's very profound, and understanding the N word, what we've historically understood as the N word. And I do just want to build on that quickly from an etymological perspective. And something that's really helped me in understanding that word is looking at the etymology of that word and knowing that it came from words like negus, naga, and naga, and even back towards the Clip language that had a lot to do with priesthood and kingship, and a lot of words associated with royalty. And so really understanding those roots of that word and how it has evolved to be able to use to degrade and demean and devalue and dehumanize is, I think, important, and is a part of that psychological trauma that we've experienced about our true nature. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Yeah,
and I
so
did
it's
have
amazing.
one more slide.
Yes,
Some questions.
please. Said you had a question?
No, I said I had one more slide that had some questions that may even help facilitate our
For sure.
discussion. But
Yeah.
these are just questions to consider. But I see that Mr. John O'Connor has a question, so I'm happy to engage as well. But these were just 3 questions just based on my research and sort of where I'm at, like what I think might be helpful for us to think through. But what is peace and how do we sustain it? And that comes also with my partnership with the Peace Angels Project, who is founded artist Lena Vola.
So I have a question for you. I'm sorry to break through,
No.
and I'm gonna let John speak, but I do have a very pertinent question for you. Are you sure this is the first time you read Mother Moon's speech?
Yeah, that's why I was so enamored with it, because I'm like, this is what I'm saying. Like this
That's
is
what I'm joking with you. I'm reading these statements. I mean, it seems as if you were. Anyway, we'll leave it like that for now. We're talking all the time.
Yeah, so
It's incredible, wonderful. questions, right? So, hey, John O'Connor, bless you. Come on and let's hear your statements and any question you have for our wonderful young sister.
Well, you're right. She is a wonderful young lady, and I'm so impressed. You made head spin with all the different ideas you have, and you're just so full of knowledge and enthusiasm and vigor for your life. And boy, I just wish you keep going and find your way to be present in public where people can understand your heart and your knowledge. You can apply it where it could be done and used, because you really have a lot going for you, so much. I would have to say, just need to harness it a little bit more. Yeah, I know you have a short time today to speak, but it's just so many things you have in mind. Just need to really put them in a box where you understand. We especially us out here have less education, less knowledge about, at least for my sake, But my gosh, I just really admire you so much, and you bring us hope. That's for sure. You bring us hope. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, John, so much. Anyone else? Oh, Dr. Madeline Alexander, my dear sister, welcome. Come on, step right up.
You, my sister Taylor, are illuminating. Thank you so much for sharing your project with us. Please read Mother's book from cover to cover. It will bless you. And I say that because you're already there, and in your process, I'm sure some people don't understand. You're in the place you should be for such a time as this, and her book will confirm your placement. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you sharing. The one thing I wanted to talk about was and I thank God because you're young. You're this generation. So you're speaking to this generation in terms that this generation can understand. So I appreciate that. A lot of people are struggling, young and old, with their identity. So you hit that right on the head. We have to do self-assessments and find ourselves, and then we can come out as our authentic self and begin to share. And that's what you're doing, and sharing your wisdom. You talked about the belonging. Sometimes we struggle, and I'm sure where you are, you're finding that place where you fit, yet there's still just a little bit of uncomfortability because you're a woman beyond your years. People, they read books and they become intellectuals and they gain knowledge. However, you've been blessed with wisdom. And I'm going to close it up with the spirituality. You have so many people now saying, well, I don't really believe in going to church, or I don't believe in those rituals, but they claim to be spiritual. Your spirituality is finding your place in your higher power, whatever that higher power may be. Earlier this week, I read an article about the what is it called? The mitochondrial gene, and it was in reference to the gene of Eve and all people being related, everyone coming from this. If you trace all the way back, you'll find in your DNA, you will find in your bloodline that foundation was laid and it became from one woman. So whether we want to accept each other as distant cousins, brothers and sisters, God is over the universe, whatever you may call him. But we all, as human beings, need to submit ourselves under the higher power and reframe, we re-identify our spiritual connection, that we can live in this social thing called the world, or called life. And it boils down to, if I have enough love and respect for myself, I can accept you whether you red, yellow, brown, black, white. Alien can come down here in his truest form, because I'm convinced they're already here, in his truest form as green. And God will give us a way to communicate. I've been to services that are different religions and they're speaking a completely different language. But somehow in my spirit, I was able to receive it. It was translated on that level. So my young sister, you just keep doing what you're doing. I love you to life. And please read the book. I've read the book a couple times, but please read the book. And Reverend Oliver, we talk about consequences. There's no consequences. She was looking for truth. And God led her to a place where she could dissect some truth. So thank you. You know, I could talk for the rest of the hour, but I'm gonna be quiet now so everybody else can have a turn. Thank you so much.
No, that's true. It's I'm not going to go there. I'm the host right here, but I'll put this as a divine order, you know.
Yes.
And anyway, we'll cross that bridge at another time.
Yes.
Yeah, this is about stopping the violence right now, but
Amen.
I got so
That's
much
right.
going on in my mind.
That's right.
It's
Look,
incredible.
I feel like a spring. I got all kind of stuff going on. Then I have the world behind me. So I'm like, okay, this is about stopping the violence. But even in that, again, it's the way we see each other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's that value that has been taken away from us that has allowed us to feel as though we're not worthy or that we don't fit. And it's like you said with that word, you know what I mean? My father taught me that means ignorant. You know, you're not ignorant. You know, you're not dirty. You know, you're not none of those things. You know, however, when someone from a different race call you that, you look a little differently. But what surprised them is when you call them that. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, how can this be? But I appreciate you breaking that down and talking about the origin of that word. But look how the enemy perverts things, you know what I mean, and change it and gave that negative concept for basically the African American community to receive. But all he was doing was stealing time. He was stealing value. He was stealing. That's his job, to steal, kill, and destroy. So once and I do believe it's going to be a time where we can come together and unite in peace, not only our community, but the world, you know, at large. And this is like the groundwork because we're getting truth. And that's what God would have us to have, truth. Okay. Somebody else.
It's so powerful.
I love you.
Love you too. We love our little sister. Just real quick, and I'm going to get them in. The reason why I use that analogy about why this African American man looked at his African American son and imparted the wisdom and insight, it goes back to Hutsuk. Hutsuk, he was saying those projects, within the construct of those projects, then you give welfare. Welfare states that a man cannot be in the house if you're going to receive the funds or the food stamps. So what do? You take that dad out who could have been imparting certain wisdom to those boys, insights to those boys, right? But that's where, for me, the system has failed. And so then you have this vicious cycle. And one last thing, my dad used to always say this. He said on the news, they always say 50%, I'm just using it as a number, 50% of Black kids grow up with no father in a home. But he says they don't do weekly documentaries on the 50% that do. You see, that would change the subliminal psyche of the nation and of other kids watching. Amen.
It would actually change the narrative. You know, it would change the narrative and take that negative focus off of what's actually going on. Okay, I'm gonna log off too. I'm gonna mute. EJ.
All right. I don't know.
EJ, are you there?
Wayne or Tom Sullivan was first, but let me go with Tom. Wayne, Tom, Sullivan, I'm glad to see you. So I like to call on you first, then after that, Wayne. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you very much, Dr. Ray. Thank you. This has been really a very unexpectedly enjoyable meeting. My goodness. Um, Taylor, I want to say hi to you, and I am looking forward to meeting you because I also live here in Las Vegas. And I'm often on the UNLV campus because I'm working with an organization closely related to UPF called Professors World Peace Academy, which is working on generating fellowship and peace action between students and professors. And it's just trying to get that going. And I'm so excited, and I want to pick up the words from Dr. Alexander a moment ago to confirm your placement. I think that's a wonderful way to say it. It took me a long time to get my doctorate, and I will say you sound just exactly where you're supposed to be because you're preparing for your comprehensive exams, right? Right? Okay. So you got all this stuff. Oh my gosh, it's this and this. That's perfect. It's perfect. You know, in a year or two, you know, when you write your thesis, that'll also be another exciting challenge. But I think, yeah, more power to you. But I really do hope to meet you. The local UPF director here is Leslie Rigney, who's also on this call. And so I hope that we can connect sometime soon. This is a great chance, and I really want to meet you and share some more ideas together. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Good. Yeah. Also, I originally met Tom in Korea, and he did a rendition or on race or black or something like that. So one time I thought we have to relive that and move forward on that. But I'm so happy. He's a scholar.
I want to say something about that. I was asked to give a response to a scholar from Senegal who had come in and he had given a presentation, and I tried to give a corresponding presentation. And then we just finished that, and then walking off the stage, and this Zachariel buttonholed me and said, "We need to talk right now." Backstage, I don't know, must have been about 40 minutes, maybe more, you know, before we got a chance to come down off the stage. Very important conversation, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Actually, I have to correct people. My first name is Zagary.
Zagary. Okay.
Right.
I said it wrong, and I apologize to you.
No. It's been what people have been doing all my life. I said in my latter age, I'm gonna get them to say it right. Before I used to ignore it, but I'm gonna get it right.
Yeah, we are in our latter age.
That's right. Wayne, how are you?
Oh, I am very good. I'm better now than I was before I came on this presentation. Very good, Taylor. Very uplifting. The question I have for you, in this broken world that we're trying to give a new direction to, are there any movements, any organizations that truly give you hope and say this is where it's going, or any values or that our politicians, either party, doesn't matter, have given us that gives you hope?
I would say yes. One, this place here, there are many of you that I've now been introduced to and been welcomed into with open arms, and I'm very grateful for it. And so that is one big part of it. Here, I've met some local politicians that I, feel are on the right track, right path. But if I think largely about movements, one that's sticking out to me right now, maybe a little unconventional or non-traditional, but it's the gospel of hip hop. It's rooted in the temple of hip hop, and they talk a lot about spirituality. And it is about, despite your race, your creed, your background, your religion, we are all people. And it really looks at how we're connected through sound, frequency, and music, but it is really understanding hip hop beyond music. And it's about being hip to your hop, right? This idea, I'm aware of my movements, right? I have conscious awareness of my actions and my behavior. And so it really is a matter of understanding your values and your principles and how to act in this world. And it's led by KRS-One up in New York. But the Temple of Hip Hop, Gospel of Hip Hop, if you really get into, they have peace principles. So they have peace principles that is a guiding force of their organization and their institution. And so to me, that's You guys are my top two right now. That's what I've seen. Y'all are my top two. Temple and Hip Hop and UVA, y'all are my top two right now. But I would recommend that wholeheartedly.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank you. The floor is still open. Thank you for that. That's really incredible. Amazing. Anyone else like to share something? Floor is still Leslie Rigney. That's you. You will meet Leslie. I think you also know a few people because when I was talking to your dad, he knows a couple people who came on from Las Vegas who came on to speak. And your dad was doing something in Las Vegas. So I think he was connecting with Catherine Duncan and those people down. You know Catherine, right? Yeah, Catherine Duncan. So this is the counterpart right here. Leslie Rigney is counterpart. So the world is too small, isn't it? And Dad was saying, I said, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
hi, Leslie.
it's really interesting. I should have been somewhere else this morning, but I wasn't, so I'm here. So this has been really wonderful. And this is the anniversary of the Moulin Rouge Agreement, actually March 26th, which is when segregation was ended in the casinos. So it was ahead of the nation, actually, happened right here in Las Vegas. So we're celebrating this on Saturday at the Mormon Fort at 12 o'clock. If you want to come by with music and with talking and sharing, and hopefully not with rain, but you never know. So it's really remarkable because at this time, we're also struggling in Japan. So the Japanese are having a problem as well. So and so we're seeing that the African American are ahead of the curve, and they have something to say to the Japanese who are struggling with this issue of discrimination. So anyway, we want to make it all go away.
Yes, I would love to. And unfortunately, this weekend I have to travel to Washington, D.C. I'll be a discussant and a moderator at the Women Ambassadors Conference. So I'm looking forward to that. But I won't be able to make it this Saturday, but I do especially would like to touch base with you soon.
Okay, very good. All right. God bless you, Taylor.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? The floor is open.
EJ, are you there?
I have a few names I've seen before.
Yeah, you want to hold it?
Yes, yes.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. James Parker, you've had your hand up. You want to make a comment? This is a recording, but I would love to hear your comments.
Okay. I thought they always recorded.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Okay.
No, they're not. They're recorded, but they're not recordings. So this was a recording.
Oh.
And a majority of the time we're live.
Okay.
But yes, please share.
All right. Yeah, very, very good message. Very good message. What was your first question that you had on that?
The first question was basically, what would it take to arrive at peace?
Carry out what Christ said. Christ says, I leave you peace. Go and spread the gospel. That was it, as simple as you can make it. Unfortunately, we didn't do that. We got caught up in so many distractions and things that we forgot. I mean, all that he showed us in spreading the gospel was people were healed. People were being healed. People were being, those who were in lowly places. The gospel was being preached to the poor. So that's just like today. Just like today, reaching the poor is where most of the problems are coming from, because they have not. They have not. And they're not looking for something big. They're just looking to be included in this. I look at, once again, just us cleaning up our community, that they was part of a clean community, and it changed them. So, we shouldn't look for the system when we keep saying the system. The system is designed to separate. The system isn't designed to bring together. So when we look for the government to step in, when we look for, especially a government, then we're not looking for God. We're not looking for who the true power lies in the hands of. So,
Yeah.
so,
And it
so
was one thing, that she stated, that God is the father of all humanity. And once we can see each other through that lens, then we will continuously move forward. Unfortunately, we do have classism. We do have systems. But for those that are operating and know that we are made in God's image and in his likeness and operate in the same way, there will be a difference made. And you're a prime example of that difference. You know what I mean? So once again, we thank you and we appreciate you for your support. Daryl Faulkner, we got about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate Taylor. I'm grateful. I want to hear this again. I want to hear this again because I am so moved in her capacity to be able to process so intricately all the dynamics of life and life's trauma, and to be able to come to a spiritual perspective, which I believe she had the maturity, she had the spiritual maturity to look deep inside herself, to ask God, what is the lesson behind this? And it seems as though that in her life, in her spiritual maturity, she was consistent in having the discipline, the spiritual and emotional discipline, to ask, why is this way? And that led her to this journey in which she was on. And she touched on so many things. And just as our brother Pastor Parker was saying, and also to your point, and that is that the hope comes when we have the ability to be able to look inside ourselves and ask God those questions concerning the systems that are outside ourselves. If we put too much emphasis on trying to influence or worried or be preoccupied about the systems, I think we're going to put ourselves in a position of running around in circles. The truth of the answer comes with us being able to observe the systems and understand, how can I look within me, find a Christ essence within myself, so that God can use me to be able to create systems that are coherent to his original design. And I believe these are some things in which she has been successful to be able to articulate. And it's profound. I mean, I thought she was very, very insightful. Again, I would love to hear this whole thing again. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can find it on UPF Stopping the Violence.
Yeah.
You can find it there. Her name is
Taylor Young.
Taylor Cummings.
Oh, okay.
Taylor Cummings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Arcadio, would you like to say something? There's something you would like to share?
Yeah, very briefly. I was truly amazed and inspired by today's message. Gave me a new perspective and something that I think I can add to what I teach in the county jails to the youth, because a lot of the conflict in there has to do with identity, how they identify themselves. And so the idea of looking beyond race and culture and what connects us, that God connects us. We're all, Father is God. I mean, I really want to start putting that message out there more forcefully to these kids. Like, look beyond race and culture to what we are as humans, what connects us. So it was a great, great message.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's the thing. We have to emerge into what the things that we celebrate, the things that are similar versus the things that are different. God called us all and made us all in his image and his likeness. And when we get to a place where we can respect that, then I think we'll treat all people differently. Taylor, I had the opportunity to meet her. I actually met her in Korea. And I mean, we hit it off instantly, just like we had the conversation, in the webinar. But these are the people, these are the youth that God is raising up for this hour. We have a responsibility as the elders, to share our wisdom, but we also have the opportunity, the responsibility to support the young people that's coming up. Arcadia, you said something that was profound. You're going to start speaking more forcefully, to the young people, who they are in Christ, who they are, that God, they have worth, in God, and try to stir up that gift that's within them, to have the understanding that their life have meaning, their life have purpose, that they are not the crimes that they have committed, or they are not, their past, and you are a living, walking testimony of that. We all have a background. We all have tests. We all have trials. We have tribulations, but that brings us to the place that we're in. But we have to make a conscious decision that we want something different for our lives, that we want to see something different for our life. We want to be able to receive Christ in us, that we can continue to make that change. The word tells us that when we receive Christ, we become a new creature. Old things are passed away, all things have become new, but we have to embrace those things. I don't know of anybody that was a child and said, when I grow up, I want to cheat, lie, steal, do drugs. You know what I mean? But things are placed in our path as we're on this journey, and the choices that we make, we end up living out consequences, because there are consequences for your actions. So we kind of live out the consequences, but there's never too late to make a change. And as we talk about the root, the root cause of violence, Reverend Oliver say all the time, and I don't know if everyone knows or understands, but he's in Korea right now. But a gun is an inanimate object, and until a person picks it up, that's when the problem starts in the hand of a human being. But she talked about, your environment. She talked about the behaviors. So in and through it all, again, I will say that the tape, the video, the webinar is posted on UPF Stopping the Violence. Any segment that we have had, you can go on that website and revisit it. Any person that you have in your community that you feel as though will be a blessing, engaging in the webinar, please send me an email and let me know, or let Reverend Oliver know, that we can continue this conversation and that we can continue to make a difference, because I'm convinced that as we have come together collectively, even when we started out with those that were operating in silos, we have built a community where we can come together, where we can share, and where we can make a difference. So again, I thank you so much for being with us. I pray that you have continue to have a blessed August as we get ready to go into September. The weather will start to change. Fall will come. We will be in a new season. But as we move forward, continue to keep God as the head of your life. Continue to make conscious decisions that you're operating with God, for God, because you are made in his image and in his likeness. Peace and blessings until we meet again. God bless.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Oh,
Alexander.
you're so welcome. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yes,
God bless you all.
All right. God bless. Take care.
Thank you.
Remain well. Please.
All right. We're going to give it our best shot.
That's right. Do what you can while you can.
Absolutely. It's a blessing to be